This is Puppets by Arlie. I'm Arlie.
I'm Catherine.
And this is the Goth Opera. You have created this show with marionettes called the Goth Opera.
Yes.
Can you talk about what happens in this show and what inspired this story?
It's a cautionary tale about lust and addiction set in the 1990s Lower East Side goth scene, or just the downtown goth scene.
Here in New York City.
Here in New York City. And the people involved lived in the East Village, so it's very local. And we are performing it in the East Village at Theater for New City as part of the Dream Up Festival.
Now, we do half marionettes and half shadow puppets in this show, but why did you choose to tell this story with marionettes and shadows?
I chose marionettes because that's the puppet I knew how to do. I had done stuff with really simple hand puppet stuff before that, but once I learned marionettes, I love them. So they actually have walking legs. That's great. You can get full bodies. Also, it's cheaper. Like, I had originally imagined this with actors, but it's way cheaper to just use marionettes than actors. And the shadow puppets are used because some of the story is too complicated for us to perform with just two puppeteers. Some of the scenes. So, and also less scene changes. So the shadow puppets just help out to tell the story and make it easier. Support.
Talk about how you make your heads and how you make your bodies. And
I make a clay head, and then I make plaster molds from the clay head, and then I paper mache it, and I put wires inside the paper mache head for the strings. The body on these guys, they are actually fabric bodies. But this one here, she has paper mache body, so her limbs are paper mache.
And all of these characters are based on real people that were an inspiration to this story?
Correct. It's a story from my youth.
Tell me, now this is called Goth Opera. Can you tell me what's happening with some of the stylistic choices of music that you're using for this show?
So, my favorite genre of music is Gothic rock, and I don't know of any musicals or shows that use it, so I wanted to do that. But the real inspiration, and I know you can understand this, was Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's my all-time favorite musical, and so I wanted to kind of shoot for the stars and shoot for my own Rocky Horror, but something original. And like I said, Gothic rock had never been done, as far as I know. So the first Gothic rock opera that I know of, and it just happens to be extra weird with marionettes and shadow puppets, which I think suits it.
Mm. So some of the elements in the show are occult, new age, Gothic-inspired items. Can you talk about some of the Easter eggs that people will be able to see when they see the show, especially if they know about being a goth in the 90s, what that means?
Right. Well, when you went to the goth clubs back then, there was always this guy who named himself after a vampire, Vlad, who would read tarot cards at the clubs for years, always there. So this guy is, the tarot card reader, and so we incorporated the tarot cards into the story. In the shadow puppet scenes, like, it kind of tells the story, but also at the beginning, at the setup.
Can you talk about some of the limitations that you were up against when creating this show?
Well, we didn't have much of a budget, and it's just me and you, pretty much. So, and we had a musician working with us, so it's just the three of us. So we had to simplify down more than I had originally imagined. Like, there's one scene that we actually boiled down to using shadow puppets and really made it super simplistic. But in my mind, originally I wanted to do like a ball. Like all the musicals, when you go to Broadway, they all have like a big party scene, the good ones. So I wanted to do like a vampire ball.
Mm.
But
And
or
so
a
how
Halloween ball.
did you create a big scene with?
Well, it's not a big scene now. It's very simplified and it's barely.
Oh, well, no, I think we have a lot of shadow puppet elements that make the illusion of lots of people on a dance floor. So in some of the shadow elements, in bringing like lots of people, I think this puppet design that you have here is very clever. So it's a paper plate with toilet paper tube and then cutouts of dancers, and then we rotate them, and it makes a really cool effect of like several people dancing.
Yeah. Or one person and their different moves.
Yeah.
So it's not static.
So Catherine, thanks so much for coming and talking about goth opera. If people want to find out more about this project or more about Fairy Tale Marionettes, where do they go?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, or you can go to the link that Arlie will provide for you.
And if you're in New York City, you can come see the show.
Yes, so Labor Day weekend, if you're around. If not, hopefully we'll perform it again somewhere else. Or you can hire us and we will perform it at your event.
Thanks for watching.